Good morning and welcome to Today in L.A. My name is Mike Amos. His name is Bill Rice Jr. And we are ready to go on to a Friday. Thank goodness it's Friday. It didn't look like it would ever get here.
I'm looking at the TV monitor. That's like looking at a mirror. So
My name is Pinky Lee Posey, and I've got a secret. And the secret is, thank goodness it's Friday.
TGIF.
Well, it's good to be with you this morning. I hope everybody is watching on Facebook across the nation, across the world, and of course we've got a lot of news today. One big thing: Pike Road, Ponder does it again. Pike Road beat St. Paul 11-0. St. Paul had never been treated that rough.
Yeah,
in baseball.
I did read that Roger Schultz's son. The football center that's coming to Troy, who's also a great baseball player, he couldn't pitch because he had a shoulder issue, so they could have used him in this game, obviously.
I'll tell you this, this guy's got some kind of miracle working in him.
Well, I'll put it this way, he's not going to be at Pike Road High School long.
Hey, if any college coach, people,
comes open,
AD out there, got an opening as a baseball coach, they ought to jump over this guy and ride him.
That's going to happen. But he deserves it. I mean, the proof is in the pudding, isn't it?
The head coach at Pike Road is dominant again. When you beat a team not only for a championship and then beat them 11-0, a team that's one of the top-rated teams in the state each year, and he goes up there and in 1 year, that's right, isn't it?
Yeah.
In 1 year, he takes Pike Road to the championship game.
Yeah, I was looking. He built Pike Liberal and laid the foundation for their dynasty in baseball. I was running some numbers on Pike Liberal's dominance in baseball, yeah. Mike, and they've won a three-peat. We all know that, right?
Exactly, yeah.
I looked at it in the past 6 years. Here's what Pike's done in baseball, and Alan Ponder started all this. In 2017, if my year is right, Pike was state runner-up.
Yeah.
Almost won a state championship. The next year, they had an awful year. They were lost in the semifinals of the state playoffs. The coach right now, Rush Hickson, was a senior on that team, but they finished third in the state that year. Then state championship. COVID hits, but they would have won a state championship.
That's right.
And then this year, state championship. So the worst Pike Liberal has done in baseball in the last 6 years is losing in the semifinal round. They've either won a state championship, runner-up, or fourth place. Pretty good.
I tell you, it really is. And he's done it. He's not a loudmouth. He's not a guy that really promotes himself. He's just Alan Ponder, and
he's got that.
And hey, I run the show, and nobody else runs this show but me. But the thing about it, he does it with style and class.
Kind of like Chase Riddle used to, right?
That's right. You're right. He is everything he has ever done, from what I gather, from a player. They say he was the best high school player that ever come through the private schools, he went on to Alabama, and then also was.
He go to AUM.
Then he went to AUM and became a Hall of Famer. He made it as a young man, made it to the Hall of Fame at the AUM. And
well, I've just never heard anybody say a bad thing about him. So.
Yeah, that's right. Because he's not a guy that promotes himself. He's a class individual, and I know this. Don't you know that Pike Road is glad to get him, because they were good in football and everything, but to take baseball like this and all the way to the state.
And I would think that Pike Road is going to be loaded with baseball players. We just rode through Pike Road yesterday,
right.
coming back.
More and more people wanting to live out there.
We saw this whole new huge neighborhood going up again.
Yeah.
So that some of these kids, or a lot of these kids, are going to be baseball players. So I don't know about football and basketball, but in baseball, I would look for Pike Road to be a fixture in the baseball state championships for a long time.
No question about it. We'll go ahead and bring Mike Amos in here. Good morning. How you doing?
Hey, morning.
Where are you calling from, sir? East Boga, Alabama? Or Port St. Lucie on the Rhine?
It's beautiful Grayton Beach. It's sunny already and about 62 degrees. It's a nice breeze. The last of the cold weather's here, it looks like.
Mike, he did it again. I mean, I know he's got a state championship to play for, but ponder. That's the talk of the Pike Road today.
Yeah, I mean, this
beat him 11 to nothing.
This is one of those. I guess you kind of just look in the future and say, 10 years from now, where will he be? Because I mean, this guy is probably the hottest young coach out there in baseball in the state of Alabama.
I agree. You're exactly right.
I mean, I guess we're just going to have to try to figure out what he wants to try to do. Because I mean, if he wins a state championship at 5A, I mean, you're talking about every small college, every big college wanting to bring him in as an assistant. Small colleges as a head coach probably, and then any 7A school would want him for sure.
I think the big schools would want him as a. There's been high school coaches that went straight to Division I jobs. He could do it. I mean,
yeah, I could see a coach in waiting situation at a big time school. For sure.
Yeah. Well, it's a lot going on. G.W. Long is in the state championship game this year, and of course they beat last night or yesterday afternoon. They beat Arrington, a good Arrington team, and
great year for Arrington, though.
But it's just that's another statement right there. G.W. Long is going back to the Final Four, and
where they live.
Yep, that's right.
The finals. They're going to the finals.
And in softball, G.W. Long's doing the same thing. They're a when it comes to any sport, but
dynasty. They are in softball, public school. I think they are the dynasty of the major sports. I mean, nobody has won more state championships in boys sports than G.W. Long baseball.
So they'll be going to Oxford to play for I would think play for the state championship in the Final Four at Oxford, and it goes. They defeated J.U. Blackshear yesterday 4-3, and then they also are looking to beat Leroy for 10-0. So they're doing pretty well already. And
I'm friends with all those DeShera boys. I talked to Neil yesterday, and Michael D. I need to get Ponder's number from one of them, and maybe we can get him on next week.
Well, I tell you what, he's a fine coach, and I don't think we can say enough about him. And of course, there's some other guys out there that are jumping up and down. Of course, G.W. Long is one of them, and they winning their game 11-3 over a good Arrington team, and so they're advancing and to the big show, which is this coming week. And also want to again, as we talk about this guy Ponder.
How old is he, by the way?
Well, I don't know. I don't know how old he is. He probably.
Michael can take a good guess.
Yeah. But,
how old would you say he is?
How old is Ponder?
Yeah.
He's Alan Ponder's probably around Michael DeShera's age. Michael DeShera would probably be around 37.
Well, he needs to go ahead and get going in the college ranks. Well, he might be happy as a high school coach. I mean, you don't have to. But college coaches nowadays, big-time college coaches in any sport, get a lot of money. So even a head coach at Alabama or Auburn would make, in baseball, wouldn't you think they'd make at least $400,000, $300,000?
I don't know. But they pay more than small teams.
I would say an SEC college coach makes at least close to $1 million.
Oh, really? Golly. I didn't know that.
Well, an assistant coach, Etheridge, our friend from Charles Henderson High School, the new defensive back coach at Auburn, he makes over $300,000, I think,
Yeah.
in his 20s.
Zach Etheridge, yeah.
So Ponder, as a head college baseball coach, would certainly make more than that. But I would take the $300,000.
Yeah.
Edwards was a senior on the 2010 national championship team, so he's probably got to be around 32, 33.
Yeah. And from right out here, they would call him Zacchaeus all those years, and I said, man, let's don't call that guy Zacchaeus, let's call him Zach.
And you started that?
Yeah, well, I would pretty much started that because I never called him Zacchaeus.
Mike Rada was the sportscaster for years up in Birmingham, and he would get on the helicopter and go to all the hospital football games for ABC News, and he started Cadillac Cardinal Williams way before
Anybody?
it caught on. That's what he used to call him.
It caught on eventually.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, I'm on Zoom if you want to put me on camera this
Yeah,
morning. I know that's not help ratings.
Can we get him on Zoom this morning? He says, yeah, Mike, so you're on.
Nicknames. Let's think of football athletes that are known by their nicknames. Cadillac Williams is a great one. Let's see.
Quite a few of them.
Bo Jackson was really Vincent Jackson.
Yeah, that's right.
But that's not a nickname like I'm thinking. I'm thinking of names like Cadillac.
Oh, yeah. Well, there was...
They call Devontae Smith, they're starting to try to call him the Slim Reaper. But I don't know if that's going to catch on.
Really?
Johnny Musso was what?
The Italian Stallion.
The Italian Stallion.
The great one, Johnny Musso. And
he was the Italian Stallion before Rocky Balboa was the Italian Stallion.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Rocky Balboa, yeah.
The greatest name for an Alabama guy when I was growing up was the Deuce.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's right.
Good one. Yeah, David Palmer was the Deuce.
The Deuce is loose.
He would come on the field and that whole crowd would go, Deuce, Deuce.
Yeah,
It would sound like he was booing, but they were saying Deuce.
He was a great college player. He really was. He never played much.
He was good in the pros. He was all pro one year.
Well, did he? I didn't know that. I didn't know.
I will tell you something about David.
He was a good player. He was a good player for Minnesota Vikings.
I'll tell you a story about David Palmer that stuck with me. You remember he got 2 DUIs back to back after his freshman year. And the press and everybody was saying, cut the Deuce loose, get rid of this guy. Gene Stallings didn't do it. He suspended him for a couple of games and kept him on the team. So that's an example of you hanging there when young kids make a mistake.
Yeah.
Don't throw him out on the street. Where would David Palmer be right now, or what would have happened to him if Gene Stallings would have kicked him off the football team like a lot of people wanted? That's all I got to say about that.
Yeah, I'll never forget that Tennessee game when he brought Alabama back and Alabama tied that game. I mean, it was a tie, but it sure felt like a win.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the crowd just went crazy for a tie.
That guy, if you put him in the quarterback slot today, Stallings did that a little.
Oh yeah, he was.
It was just so fun to watch him. Just the play was just snap it to David and let him run around.
What offense is that, Mike?
The Wildcat.
The Wildcat, and he really was the first one to come out there with it.
But he could throw. David Palmer could throw it pretty. He was a quarterback in high school, so he could throw it good.
I wonder, the single wing, we call it single wing and a shotgun and all that. When it hadn't been out there that long, but there'd been a lot of players that would have been very good college players if they would have had that offense.
You know who could have done it too is Willie Tullis, one of my all-time favorite Troy players.
He's been a great one.
I just distinctly remember going to watch Coach Bradshaw's team practice, and you couldn't hit the quarterback, of course, in the scrimmage, but you had to touch him to get him down. And he would run the ball, and they couldn't touch him. He was like David Palmer, juking people, and they couldn't even touch him.
And I'll tell you something else about
Mark Ingram under Saban won the Heisman Trophy in 2009 in the Wildcat.
They used him a lot, didn't they?
Oh, man, I mean, the Wildcat was huge that season for Alabama.
Mike, who is the running back number 29. That was you don't hear people talk about him that much, but he was a great player.
The Riddler.
That's right, Riddle.
Dennis Riddler.
Yeah.
Riddle.
The Riddler.
All right.
That's a nickname.
Now, tell me the great running back that decided.
Freddie Kitchens had a great name, Fat Freddie.
Yeah, that's right.
He might be listening, Michael.
I tell you this, he was good though. Freddie was good.
In certain games,
he could throw it.
He always played good against Auburn.
Yeah, had Auburn beat, and the guys they give it to him. I remember the paper, Sunday paper. It was obvious that he had the ball.
That would have been 2 wins Alabama had.
That's right.
They didn't win. And then the next year, I think he was a quarterback, and that's the one where they threw the screen pass and the guy fumbled the ball and Auburn gets it back. He kicks the field goal and wins the game.
That's right.
I was at that game in the Auburn student section next to Camille and a bunch of her Phi Gams and sorority sisters, and that was the loudest game. I mean, that Auburn student section, man, it is loud.
Oh, there's no stadium has ever been louder than the Mountaintop game in 1989. The first time Alabama played over there, I was there. The whole dad took all the Rice boys. Alabama's number 2 in the country, I think, undefeated, and Auburn's good. First game ever. I defy anybody to find me one stadium in world history that was louder than that game.
That was in
Auburn, first time ever in Auburn.
Oh, it was. No question about it.
Alabama hung in there for a while, surprising, but it would have taken a miracle for Alabama to win that.
People don't realize it, but Alabama was undefeated on the season when they went to Auburn that day.
Yeah, they had Hollingsworth who had that great year.
That was a crushing defeat for Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
And Hollingsworth, they could score, but they couldn't stop anybody from scoring. Yeah. And
Alabama's star receiver back then was named Marco Battle.
Yeah,
and they had a really good tight end. Vaughn Russell.
Yeah, little tight end. He was good. Kevin Turner was good on that.
Kevin Turner, yeah. And they Roger Schultz was the center. And Auburn just destroyed him in the second half.
What was the great running back that decided not to play his senior year? What was his name? Coffee, wasn't it? Y'all remember Coffee?
No, Coffee went to the 49ers.
Oh, he went to the pros and quit.
And the war happened, and he wanted to become an Army Ranger.
He
left to go serve in the military.
And he left a good career too. He was a good running back, and I reckon he already was on a pro team. Is that right?
That's right. He quit.
Yeah, he had already played for the 49ers a couple of years.
Yeah, and I remember that so well. But we've got a lot to talk about. I believe we're going to be talking about Hook's Barbecue this morning, and of course, what a great barbecue you've got with Hooks. They'll bring it out to your house. They'll bring it and they'll serve you potato salad and baked beans, and a lot of people love their rice and pork rice.
I like their baked beans and their coleslaw is real good.
They like they put that rice in there with the pork, or the pork in there. And with
Michael's
the rice.
right. Their ribs are as good as anybody's ribs.
No question about it. And we've got them rated. Mike's got
Hooks ahead of Dreamland.
Got them right up there with Dreamland, right? And
the last time we had ribs at Dreamland in Tuscaloosa a couple weeks ago, and then I had ribs at Hooks a couple days after that. Hooks ribs were better.
They were a little bit in Tuscaloosa. They were a little burnt. They weren't there tad.
Too much fat, or it wasn't bad. The sauce is really good, but they weren't as the quality of the meat wasn't as good as Hooks.
And you can get a whole quart.
Why do people request burn-ins on barbecue? I don't understand.
Now, your mother used to always do that when we were growing up, and she grew out of it. Thank goodness. She loved the burn-ins on the barbecue. But of course,
I've had Dreamland many times in Tuscaloosa, and I told the story back when I was in the RNDC days, Spirits days. I was buddies with a couple of the older reps, and we'd go to Dreamland, the original, every single time. And Big John's brother they knew him really well, and apparently he put the really, falling off the bone tender ribs to the side for some of their bigger customers. And we'd go in
Bigger
and they'd give him
customers.
two bottles of certain spirits, and we'd have the best ribs you'd ever eat in your life.
Yeah.
Hey, that's the way to do it.
Yeah, it really is. And, of course, we
Big,
want
big news in football. The SEC announces Egg Bowl moving to Thanksgiving night.
Egg
So
Bowl
it's
back
exciting.
to Thanksgiving night. The
So
Egg
that'll be
Bowl.
Mississippi State, Ole Miss on Thanksgiving, and that's exciting news for me.
Yeah.
I love it when that game's on Thursday night.
The Egg Bowl, Ole Miss and Mississippi State going at it. And, of course, Mike, tell us who the Auburn Tigers open up with.
Auburn opened us up with what was it, Akron, or who they opened up
They
with?
zipped, and we want to get ready for them somehow. And here we go. The Auburn Tigers getting ready for the 2021 football season, and it's going to be a great one. Auburn against Akron to start the season for the Tigers. So go ahead and buy your tickets now. Auburn, Akron on the tube right here in Troy, Alabama.
What do you say, Rice? New coach, Auburn's playing Akron. Pandemic's coming not to an end, but hopefully getting a lot better. You say what, 75,000 for the Akron game, maybe?
Oh, at least, yes, definitely. Maybe probably a sellout.
Yeah, oh yeah, they'll sell it out, Mike. I think, no question about it.
Well, Auburn's attendance under Malzahn really started to suffer over the last 2 or 3 years. They were not selling out games.
Yeah, I didn't realize that.
But that's a national trend. It's just everybody is having trouble filling these stadiums. Now, some of it's students not going to the game, but it's a big issue for college football is getting fannies in the bleachers. I think a lot of it is, there's so many games on TV and the great high-def TVs, and, why fight the hassle and spend all the money when you can watch it on TV? But it's something to watch. People are not going to, I think they still love it just as much as ever, but people aren't paying to go to the actual game like they used to everywhere. So I think that
Auburn plays Alabama State next. Who gives Auburn the more competitive game? Akron in the first game or Alabama State in the second?
Oh, Alabama State in the second?
No, they won't.
I think Alabama State's better than Akron, I would think.
I would say athlete-wise for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah, no question about it.
So Auburn can play Alabama State, but they can't play Troy.
Yeah.
They could play Troy. They don't want to play Troy.
Oh yeah, I don't even want to get into that. It's foolish, really, because we're right down the road. We're a proven Division 1A program. No question, Auburn was supposed to beat us, and they would.
And they will not have a sellout at the Alabama State game, but they would have a hard sellout if they played Troy.
Now, if they open all those tickets up to Alabama State, they're liable to bring a lot of fans.
That's probably why they scheduled them, because Alabama State will bring 8,000 fans.
That's right, they sure will.
So it might be a sellout. I might be wrong.
I was looking here. Is Talladega this weekend? Is that? It says Talladega Speedway offers 2 high-speed laps with COVID test or vaccine. Can you believe that? And of course, that's the.
They're bribing people to get them to take the vaccine. They're doing it all over the country.
And of course.
Yeah, isn't that what the president's saying now? If you don't take the vaccine, you still got to wear your mask.
That's right.
Didn't that come out yesterday?
Oh yeah, that got a lot of social media commentary. I noticed.
Yeah, I saw that.
I also saw where the New York Yankees players and staff had 8 positive COVID tests.
Now what happens now?
Well, they're having to cancel some games, I think. But the headline was all 8 had been vaccinated. So explain that.
That is strange. I didn't know that part.
Mm-hmm.
So they're all asymptomatic, I guess?
Yeah, everybody's been all asymptomatic even before the vaccine. But yeah, they're all, none of them are really sick.
Right. So I saw you wrote that big article about applied liberal arts, and now you said Edgewood won all three in the same year in like 2015, 2016. When you write those articles, does Bobby post them or put them in the messenger?
Some shorter versions. So what I do is the stuff that doesn't get in the messenger, I throw it on Facebook just because I've worked so hard doing all this research. Yeah, I'm fired up about this Triple Crown Pike Liberal Arts one because it's so rare. Let's say this. The AISA was founded in 1970. It took 45 years for one of their member schools to win a state championship in all the big boy sports in the same year. And then, dang if it didn't happen 2 times in that year, which was 2015-16. It was Edgewood and Abbeville Christian both ran the table in football, basketball, and baseball. So those were the only 2 teams in the AISA that won 3 state championships in 1 year until Pike Liberal Arts just did it this week. But they are the first AAA classification AISA school who's ever done it in 51 years of the AISA. So they did something that no big school in the AISA has ever done before. That's big news if you do something nobody's ever done before.
Well, I thought the biggest news about that, though, is they did it with all first-year head coaches. A new head coach in football, a new head coach in basketball, a new head coach in baseball.
Well, I wish I would have. That's a good point. I'm going to go back and edit that and add that point. Good point, Mark.
And a bright young coach in baseball. He's going to be a good one. Couldn't you just sort of tell the way he carries himself?
Oh yeah, we talk about Ponder's bright future in coaching, but Rush Hickson, you watch sky's the limit for him too.
He really.
I'd always heard he was a really good American Legion coach before he even got the head job at Pike Liberal Arts.
That's right. They knew what they were doing when they made him the head coach.
Well, he got to, it's like mentoring under Saban. He got to mentor under Ponder. Apprentice under Ponder, I guess is the word.
Who knows? If Ponder goes into college ranks one day, he might have Russ as one of his assistants, or vice versa.
I wouldn't doubt it. He's a good coach, no question about it.
Players all had COVID in the past and all took the Johnson vaccine.
They did.
They'd all had it in the past too.
Then they're all asymptomatic.
Oh me.
He said they had the Johnson vaccine, if that makes any difference. But, there's a lot, they're not, on the vaccine, they're not saying it keeps you from testing positive. It's obvious. There are tons of people that are testing positive after they've had the vaccine, but the claim is that it keeps you from getting a severe case, which if that's true, that's all that really matters, is whether you get sick enough to go to the hospital or die. True. So if it keeps you from dying or going to the intensive care, it's a great thing.
Yeah, I mean, when you hear about the coronavirus right now, they're really just talking about how really deadly and horrible it is in India right now. That India is just like, kind of like the way Italy was and some of those other places in Europe.
I wonder how they're handling it. I wonder how they're handling that. Are we keeping people from India from getting on a plane flight and flying to America?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. We've been doing that.
Yeah.
Well, India, as we learned on this show in a debate a long time ago, their population is about the same as China's.
Yeah, so, I think it's gone past it, I think.
So you got to calculate those numbers on a per capita basis. What's the infection rate per 100,000 people or per 1 million people? But India is in the headlines a lot. There's another country that I can't even pronounce, I'd never heard of, that has 100,000 people, and every person in that country has been vaccinated.
1.4 billion people live in China, India.
Anyway, there's 100,000 people in the entire island nation, and they have vaccinated every adult in the country, and they're having a huge COVID outbreak right now.
Oh, yeah, like the United States yesterday had 39,000 new cases, which is really down a lot compared to the way it used to be, and only 762 deaths. So those numbers are down a lot. But if
What is it? That in a day? That's in a day. 752 deaths.
Yeah, 762 deaths yesterday in the United States from COVID.
Oh gosh, that's a
the
lot
World
to
Net
me.
Estimator
Yeah.
info. But then if you look at India, keep in mind the United States had 39,000 new cases yesterday. India had 345,000
Oh
new cases
gosh.
yesterday.
Oh man.
And they had 4,000 4,000 deaths.
Yeah, yesterday in India. 4,000 deaths in India, 752 deaths.
Well, I'm going to do
in,
some quick math. So that they had about...
Those are down a lot in the United States, though, from
Yeah.
the previous month.
How many deaths did India have?
4,000.
Yeah.
And how many did America have? 700.
762.
Yeah.
So America has had, they have about 5 times as many deaths as America yesterday, but their population is 5 times higher than America. So that's about really the same, really, because America has 300 million people, and India has 1.4 billion, which is about 5 times the population of America.
But a lot of people say India is not accurately reporting their numbers. Like they say it's really probably double and triple what they're reporting.
Well, it's interesting. I mean, India is in the news, and I don't know what to make of it. Here's what I'm watching. I want to see. I think the virus is seasonal. That's why we had this huge surge in November, December, January of cases, hospitalizations, and deaths. I mean, just massive increase. So if this seasonal, and if it hasn't, we don't have herd immunity by November, by the next flu season, virus season. Let's see what happens this coming winter. Now, everybody by this coming winter, or at least 70% of the population, should be fully vaccinated. If we have another surge, that will be, but I don't think we are.
Well, I hope not.
My big question on vaccination, though, I've gotten both shots. I've had them since March, both shots. But when do I have to go get shots again? Does it last a year? Does it last 9 months?
That's right.
How does that work?
Well, that's 6 months to a year is what I'm reading. So they'll come out. You're going to need a booster shot. I'm a cynic, and these big pharma's making we don't know how much money they're making on these vaccines, but you can double that when you make it an annual shot, which is going to happen. But yeah, you'll be told to get another one in approximately.
Well, you're not paying for the shot. Nobody's going to pay for the shot.
No, that's right.
You think we'll see a day when you do have to pay for it?
Well, who's paying for it? You think Pfizer's doing it for free?
Well, I know the government.
The government. This inflation we have right now. What's causing it? It's the government is printing money to pay Pfizer for all these vaccines.
I'm just saying though, when you actually have to pay out of your pocket one day, I cannot imagine many people get this.
I can't either, Michael.
I would think that it'll always be free, because this is how you correct the problem is by vaccination.
Well, people get 50 to 70% of the population gets a flu shot every year, and most insurance pays for most of that. So I mean, they're just a population of America is approximately 310 million. If 50% of the population gets a flu shot every year, that's 150 million flu shots every year that's going to some drug company. And then they're getting ready to have 250 million people getting the COVID shot every year. So just the money that's being spent on vaccinations boggles the mind.
Yeah. They're predicting that by Monday, the death total in the United States will be over 600,000.
Oh man!
Since it started.
That's terrible. Well, one thing that I hear different things. I've asked people. I said, why did you ask a girl not long ago, are you going to get the shot? And she said she was afraid that the shot could hinder her if she wanted to have a child. Mm-hmm. Have you heard that?
Yeah, yeah. I've heard that from a lot of people down here that are younger. Yeah, for sure.
All right, now why?
Well, nobody knows the long-term effects of the vaccine. You could not know the long-term effects because you would have to study the people that have been vaccinated for a long term, for years. So that they've thrown that out. Normally, it takes years of studies before they approve a vaccine.
And I think
so you're just taking a chance, saying we trust you, Mr. Government, that there'll be no long-term effects. But one of the worries about possible long-term effects 5, 10, 20 years down the road is infertility. It might cause infertility. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't, but you're taking a risk. In my mind, if you're in the, my whole thought on the vaccine is get it if you're in the high-risk group. If you're a child, the 1 in 2 million people die of COVID, you don't need the vaccine. Or if you've already had the virus, your body, God and nature has created immunity for you. You don't really need the vaccine. If you're 70 years old, you need the vaccine.
But I think this is the question you hear from most people that have not taken the shot, is that the first shot was okay, but they said I'll get real sick when I take the second shot, and people are afraid. People don't want to get sick. Well, most times they say you get sick for maybe 1 day or possibly 2 days, and it's over with. You know, that's the way it works. You know,
yeah,
I think the percentages are much better for the shot than it is for not taking the shot.
It depends on your age, to me. I mean, you're right. I mean, if you've got here's some hard data.
Or existing health conditions.
That's right. If you're very obese, that's a high risk category. But if you're over the age of 85, or maybe it's 80, you've got a 1 in 39 chance of dying of COVID, which is staggering. I mean, 1 in 39.
That is pretty much.
But if you're a child who's not a minority and you're under the age of 14, you have a 1 in 1 million chance of dying. So you know, it's a sliding scale. You play the odd games. You're right. Now over 70, you've got pretty high. But you get somebody that's 30, 35, 40. Their odds of getting and dying from COVID are, you know, I've looked it up. They're really about the same as being struck by lightning.
Oh boy!
The odds.
I want people to know that
I've heard that all my life.
Well, you know what the odds of an American getting struck?
We've had so many close friends and people we care about. I mean, I was talking, you know, to one of my best friends, and we were talking about his mom yesterday. You know, I was talking about Cheryl. I mean, Joan Beard. I mean, the list goes on. I mean, we know it's real. We know it's, you know, unfortunately, it's killed some people that we care about a lot. So it's just one of those things. It's just it hits certain people and doesn't hit others. It's just strange.
Well, 75% of the deaths have been over the age of 70.
Yeah.
Less than 1% of 1% of 1% have been under 20.
Let's look at the two shots that they're giving. All right, the first shot is what that everybody's been taking. It takes 2 shots.
Moderna and Pfizer, the 2 big shots.
All right, Moderna. All right, it takes 2 shots, but about 20 days apart, and
about a month apart.
Has a low risk of getting sick. I think the majority of the people are not getting sick. All right, then the other is. The other shot is the Pfizer. Now, the Pfizer is just 1 shot.
Oh, that's Johnson & Johnson.
Wait a minute.
Pfizer is 2 shots.
All right. So what do you think has come up in those 2 shots? Which one is preferred?
The only issue is Johnson & Johnson has caused blood clots and caused people to have strokes.
All right. Has caused some people to have those things. Not what percentage? Very low percentage, I'm sure.
Well, there's questions about. Well, there's also a question about how many are not being reported. You know, it is that the movement is so, if somebody comes out and says, maybe I can wait to get a vaccine like I do, or that if you're 40 years old, you really might not need one, that's not a popular thing to say. I admit that. Yeah. And the press doesn't want to say it. The government dang sure don't want to say it. So you do wonder if all of the people who've had blood clots or negative side effects, if those incidences are actually getting published and out there to some stories are, but I bet you for every story you hear of somebody that's had a stroke or a blood clot, there might be 10 or 20 or 100 that you could have counted that never show up in the press.
All right, a bell is ringing in my head. You know why it's ringing in my head? Because I had a blood clot. I had a blood clot.
I thought about that.
And why did I have a blood clot?
You also had brain surgery before then too.
Yeah, I did, but that was just
probably had nothing to do with it. But I still wonder about people have died. A lot of people have died after the vaccines. Now I say a lot of people. When you've got 150 million people that have had a shot, it's as a percentage, it's tiny. But people like Hank Aaron that went and got his vaccine and then he looked fine and was talking to the press and seemed normal, and then a week later he's dead. And isn't it obvious to say, well, is there a relationship between him getting the vaccine and dying a week later? And everybody says no. You can't say no. It didn't cause. It was a coincidence.
Let's get me out of this.
Hank Aaron was like 90, wasn't he? How old was he?
Yeah, he was 91. I think he was 91. And but let's go back to this. The Moderna and then the Pfizer. Is that right?
That's in America.
The Pfizer, is it 2 shots?
Johnson Johnson's the only one that's 1 shot.
All right. Well, all right. Compare them. Tell me what's the difference there. It's all a low percentage.
I have no idea. I know one of them was made by Bill Gates and his foundation. Then that was Moderna, and then Pfizer is.
Well, I think the one of them is said to be.
Pharmaceutical company.
The Moderna and Pfizer are supposed to be 90 to 95% effective at preventing severe cases, which is fantastic.
Not 95 is what they say.
95. Now, you got to put an asterisk by that. That means, as we've learned from the New York Yankees, it doesn't prevent you from getting the virus. It prevents you from dying from the virus, which is everybody wants. Johnson & Johnson's, they say, is not nearly as effective, maybe 70% effective, and that's the one that they pulled for a couple of days because of the blood clot issue, but then they put it back on the market.
All right, let's get us out of this now. This is just what we read, isn't it? Is that right?
Oh, yeah, that's all.
Johnson & Johnson, all right, so it's 1 shot, and why would somebody not, if this has less odds.
Why would you take the one that had lower odds?
Yeah, why would you?
Probably because you avoid a second shot.
Also, the convenience of only having to do it 1 time. A lot of people can't come back a month later.
All right, so that's the key. Johnson & Johnson is for the convenience of it, and they have had some problems, but.
And to confuse it even more, they have a different one in the UK and Europe. It's AZ. And there's different controversies on it. China has their own vaccine. Russia has their own vaccine. That country I told you about that had 100,000 people that is fully vaccinated, every one of them's been vaccinated, they were using the China vaccine and the European vaccine. They weren't using the American vaccines.
All right, like are some people situated where they can, the only shot they can get is from Johnson & Johnson?
I think they're taking whatever is available.
I mean, like, are they given the opportunity to choose, like Moderna?
Yeah.
I would think.
If you call around right now, you can get whatever shot you want to get.
Well, and the thing,
you can get a Moderna, you can get a Pfizer, you can get a Johnson & Johnson. There's so many vaccines out there now, and so many doses. I mean, they've got the stockpiles now.
Yeah.
Well, pretty soon America is going to be 70% fully vaccinated, adults, and everybody's pretty much getting the Pfizer and the Moderna. So let's say 50% of that would be 150. You're going to have about 200 million people that are going to be fully vaccinated in a month. and then they're each getting 2 shots. So that's 400 million doses of vaccine that have been, you can do the math. I don't know what Pfizer and Moderna are charging the government, but I think it's probably $40 or $50 a shot. So multiply 40 or 50 times 400 million. It's billions and billions of dollars.
Well, the only reason
I feel like life is totally back to normal to me since I've had the vaccine. I mean, I go to restaurants, I go sit at bars, I'm in and out of big crowds. I have felt 100% fine. And
well, I'm knocking on wood. I'm knocking on wood for you. I'm knocking on wood.
I would go to an Alabama game with 100,000 people right now in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
I mean,
But I'm still though I'm knocking on wood for you because you are taking a chance.
Well, taking a chance to be asymptomatic, I guess. Yeah.
I think that the virus was subsiding well before most people have been vaccinated. That's something people don't get. On January 5th, there were 5,500 cases in Alabama. That's a massive amount of cases. In the last couple of weeks, your most days you have under 200 cases. So the cases went down 97%, hospitalizations and deaths almost as much. The people were not 70% fully vaccinated on January, and then it just fell off a cliff over the next 2 months of cases. Now, more people were being vaccinated, but my whole thing is obvious that seasonality or the virus was running its course. How else do you go from 5,500 cases a day to 200? It just disappeared on its own. And then the other thing I think happened is you had herd immunity kicking in because so many people have already had the virus by now that they don't even know they had the virus. So natural herd immunity was working. So if 50% of the people have already had the virus by February, which is very possible, well, those 50% of the people cannot get the test positive again. They're immune. So I see coming out of the flu and virus season and the fact that 40 to 50% of the people had already had the virus, that's why we've had this huge decrease in cases. Now, we've starting since really about February, you've ramped up big time with the vaccination numbers, which makes it even greater, like Michael said. And now you've got, among the older people, you probably have 80–90% of the population of America, the at-risk population that's been fully vaccinated. So I'm with you. I don't think there's any great. If you get it, like these New York Yankees or something, you're going to be asymptomatic. So we got to get back to normal, or else the economy. And we haven't talked about the economy crashing, how many terrible stories that's created. The drug overdoses, the alcohol abuse, the suicides, the people that didn't go to the hospital to get their cancer screenings. There is a massive toll that's not being reported on just the unintended consequences of the lockdowns.